Welcome to Milk and Mummies podcast. This podcast was created simply because I found myself happily pregnant and self-employed and wondering, how was I gonna juggle it all? Get comfy as we talk all things motherhood, working for yourself, and finding that elusive balance, honestly. Do you want to tell us who you are and what you do and what you're about? Who are you?
So my name is Tanya.
Hi,
I feel like I have to put on a real professional voice.
No, that's gonna go real quick. Trust me. Starts off professional, then you're like, nah, fuck it.
Slips into the usual. So my name is Tanya.
Hey.
I am a wife of 11 years. It'll be 11 years this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this week. Sorry, this week
Okay.
is our anniversary. A mum of two girls,
Yep.
Michaela and Mally, who are 9 and 7.
Yeah.
And I run a business called Trailblazer Kids.
Okay.
Which is all about child and family wellness and development.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. Awesome. How long has the business been running for?
So technically for the past 2 years, but I left my 9 to 5 to do this full time last year, October.
Last October. Oh,
Yeah.
how did that feel? I remember when I left my 9 to 5. Woo!
I feel like scary doesn't even put it into words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always been in a 9 to 5 since I was 16.
Yeah.
I've always had a job.
Yeah.
I've never not worked, other than obviously maternity leave.
Yeah.
So it was scary. And then my husband's also self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
So having two of us going on a paycheck that is like...
We're struggling in the studio right now. The paycheck that just does what it wants to do when it wants
when
to.
it wants to come.
There you go.
So it was very much a leap of faith.
Yeah.
But I haven't regretted it at all.
Perfect.
It's
Yeah.
been over a year, and by the grace of God,
Uh-huh.
we're still good,
Perfect.
surviving, and the business is doing well. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a bit. What I know the most about your business is either what I see you doing on socials, or I know obviously you were able to launch and release a set of affirmation cards, right, for children.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most that I know about them, like the journey into that space. But
Yeah.
what is the business about? Like, tell me everything.
So in everything, we're about how we make our children the best humans they can be.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm very much a believer in godly principles and just raising them to be good humans, raising them to be good people in general, who care for each other, who know how to show love to each other, who want the best for each other. And that's how the affirmation cards were stemmed. So they're a set of faith-based affirmation cards. And each of them is so there's 20 cards, there's some to affirm themselves and remind them how amazing and beautiful and wonderful and loved they are. And then there's 10 things that they can do to affirm somebody else.
Oh,
so
wow, yeah.
it might be do a nice thing for a teacher today, or give someone a high five, or include someone in a game, like just things that they can do to be good humans. So that's what the business basically is all about, is teaching them how to be good people and instilling goodness in them.
That's awesome.
So yeah, as you said, we launched into TK Maxx this year,
Whoop, whoop.
which again was so scary. Like, I almost said no to the opportunity, if I'm honest.
Why?
Yeah, because imagine, I left my job last year, October.
Yeah.
I launched the affirmation cards, the first version of them, in November last year, and went into talks with TK Maxx in the December. So I was like, this is too soon. It's happening too soon. I literally was going to be like, no, thank you.
Wow.
Because I was like, this is too big for me. I can't handle it. I can't do it, honestly.
Man.
And it took a friend of mine, my sister, my husband, to be like, girl,
this is what
you have to, because honestly, without their support, I wouldn't have been able to.
Really?
Honestly, because I just felt like this feels too big, too fast.
Wow.
Going from a 9 to 5, where I was happy in my 9 to 5.
I get that.
Like, I loved what I was doing. I was helping people. I worked in the funeral industry, which anytime I say that to people, they always have like, there's two ends of the spectrum. They'll either be like, okay, let's not talk about that. Or they'll be like, oh my gosh, tell me everything.
I'm that guy. I was like, oh my goodness.
Tell me everything.
Yeah.
But I genuinely loved my job because I was getting to help people. I helped them plan and everything like that. So for me to leave that job, it was literally because I felt like there was something bigger that I was supposed to do.
Okay.
So when the TK Maxx thing came up, like I
Yeah.
said, I was almost going to say no.
Yeah.
I went for it, and it was a long process.
Okay,
'cause
fair enough.
we started talking open in December, but we didn't actually go into the store. They weren't launched until July, I believe. Okay. So it was a process. Yeah. But even in that, it was the learning and how do we get this right? Okay, speaking to manufacturers and doing this and that. It was something that was so new to me, but it was an amazing opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah. My typically with this podcast, what I try to do is kind of speak to people and kind of understand what they did before motherhood, and what you do now, and just trying to understand the balances or the things that you've had to change from the then and now. I feel like you've kind of like said it, but I can't shift this notion of like, oh my gosh, how was the funeral industry like? As I guess, sorry, as I ramble away, what I'm trying to ascertain is what was life like pre-motherhood, is what I was trying to get to in the most long-winded way possible. What was life like pre-motherhood? Yeah. And then how did it shift for you when your little ones came into your space?
What was it like pre-motherhood?
Yeah.
The sleep.
That's all we're missing, girl.
I was able to sleep. No, but I think the shift for me, obviously before having them, I was in corporate. So before I was in the funeral business, I was in 9 to 5 corporate, working in finance. Again, I loved what I was doing. I enjoyed it. But I think when they came, there was a shift in what I found important. Not to say that my 9 to 5 wasn't.
I get that.
But it was like, okay, where's my priorities? They've got an assembly at school. Am I okay with missing work, missing that meeting? And it always came down to, I'd prefer to be with them. But whatever they're doing, as much as it might seem irrelevant to other people, I'm like, no, but this is their first assembly. Yeah. This is their first Christmas carol concert or whatever it is. So for me, me leaving finance was because of that, because I was like, I want to be able to prioritize them. Yeah. Which is why I made the shift to my last job, which was in the funeral industry, because I was working with somebody who fully got that.
Oh, amazing.
She was, oh my gosh, so understanding. Like, when I originally started, it was meant to be, I think, 3 or 4 days in the office, and we just kept cutting it down for me working from home, and she was completely on board with it. She was like, Tanya, you always get your stuff done. It's absolutely fine, which I think is so important when you do have a 9 to 5, to have a boss who's understanding and who gets it. That your priorities are going to be a little bit different. Yeah. And when I'm in work, my priorities are work, but when I'm at home, my priorities are the babies.
Did you always want to be a mum? Did you know you wanted to be a mum?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100%. I think I used to babysit and stuff like that when I was younger, and even now when I think about it, playing with my friends and stuff like that, we'd always want to play, oh, I'm the mummy, and it was just it was something I was excited for. I don't think I was prepared for it.
Fair.
Prepared for the changes, but I always wanted to be a mum.
Yeah. What was your your pregnancy journey like for either or both kids, if you can remember?
Yeah, for both of them it was really similar.
No, okay.
As in, the pregnancy itself, amazing. Like, I didn't really get sick. It was smooth. Their births, the absolute opposite. Really? For both of them, I had emergency C-sections, which I wasn't prepared for, because I had preeclampsia for both of them. So it was scary. Yeah. And it was such a change in terms of, this pregnancy has been smooth sailing the entire time. I've been fine, baby's been fine, and then all of a sudden, literally for both of them, it's like within a couple of hours, go into hospital and you're gonna have a baby now. Yeah. But they're here, and we're well. But obviously, we know it's a scary thing. Giving birth in general, being a mum, is a scary thing, because you're giving yourself into the medical hands and all of these things. But going under the knife, I think that was it was frightening for me. But
yeah, and I know you said you weren't prepared for that. Is it because and obviously it was an emergency, so things had to change on the spot and on the go. But pre that, did you feel as though you were as equipped as you could have been for whatever the birthing option was going to be?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
No.
Oh no!
I had it even with my second, even though I'd had the C-section beforehand. Yeah. I had in my head, I'm going to have a natural birth.
Got you.
And I think as well, because we're kind of programmed to, if you don't give birth naturally, you haven't really given birth.
I get that, yeah.
I'm out of that now, because I'm like, bro, I've got stitches to show for it.
I've been through it. Trust me.
It. But at the time, I was very much like, no, I need to have a natural birth. And obviously that was my desire. but for whatever reason it didn't happen that way. But because of that, both times I didn't even look into C-sections properly. I didn't want to research it because I was like, nope,
not gonna bring that to your space.
That's not gonna happen. I'm not even thinking about it. Now looking back on it, I do wish I was more prepared. And maybe research things just in case and things like that. But everything happens for a reason.
No, it genuinely, and I truly believe that for sure. With the natural side of it all, or when you were planning for that space, did you find it easy to get the information that you needed, or was it more things that friends and family were saying to you that sort of helped you sort of plan what you thought was going to happen?
I think a mix of both. I was addicted to watching the birthing shows.
I know on Channel 4, One Born Every Minute, that stuff. Oh my
gosh. Was literally and I remember my mother-in-law used to be like, how are you watching this? Knowing that you're about to go through it. I was addicted. I was like, give me all the natural information. Give it to me. I want to see what happens, how this person felt. Oh, this woman screamed a lot. This. Oh my gosh. I was obsessed.
Was it scary though? Because obviously, because it's for a show, I know that sometimes they're gonna go for the most heightened experience, or the most heightened situation. Was that scary to watch?
It was scary, but then in a sense, I was like, if I'm prepared for this work, like this person that's screaming her head off, anything that I have to do, it's gonna be easy. In comparison to like their blown up dramatics, it's gonna be simple. And then I was having a lot of conversations as well with women, which helped just to prepare myself. But like I said, it didn't go the way I was even preparing. So there
you go. Obviously, you're now in a more, I guess, creative space, work-wise. How has motherhood impacted your creativity?
That's a good question.
Because I'm trying to think. Obviously, yes, you've switched into being self-employed now, but I guess it's just trying to understand how you decided to work with your little additions, because I know for some people sometimes we're fed a narrative of like, you can't do this or you can't do that, or it's really hard now that you've got kids, etc. And there are definitely challenges, 100%. But I think what people are finding useful with this is just understanding how you were able to juggle that space, motherhood and your creative self and work, and then even understanding maybe what you were like, how you worked before they came, and then how you work now as well. So it's just trying to understand what that looks like for you now. Well, then and now, I suppose.
I think, do you know what, for me, even before I left my job and was doing this, mums in general are creative beings. Like, I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit. I remember when I was in my 9 to 5, and I vividly remember going to one event, so it's a bit of a tangent.
We love a tangent, don't you worry about that.
I vividly remember going to an event with my husband, and it was an event for creatives.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't consider myself a creative. I was going to support my husband. And I remember going, and every person I spoke to, I remember coming away feeling like I'm less than because I'm not in a creative role. And it's only now when I look back at it and I'm like, I was creative anyway. Like, mums are generally creative, whether it's figuring out what to make for dinner, whether it's figuring out how to plan this and work this around your children, and all of these things, we have to use a creative side of our minds, even if it's Elf on the Shelf. I've overslept. How am I gonna make this work? There's so many different aspects to it that our creativity comes out in our motherhood. I think it's definitely, I'm able to express it more now that I'm fully in my creative role in terms of the business. But even before that, I think it's just acknowledging I was creative before in how I was being a mum, but now I've just got more space to do that.
That's nice.
Because I'm not in a 9 to 5, I'm not on somebody else's clock, I'm not on somebody else's time, so I can kind of fit it more around the children and around what I need to do at home, and be my creative self all the time. I'm not having to switch it on and off.
I was going to ask you, because you mentioned now that you've got the space to, do you think it helps that your kids are older? They're 9 and 7 now, right? So do you think it's also with the age that they're in, they have a bit more independence now as they're getting older, so you do have more space and like just space to breathe and do the work that you want to do?
Definitely. And I see that when, like, say I'm babysitting my goddaughter who's a lot younger, I forget that I can't just leave you to go and play like I do with the girls. I have to watch you. I have to make sure you don't put anything in your mouth. And it's a luxury that I think I take for granted sometimes, because the girls are so independent. Like we can get home and they'll come and they'll cuddle under us when they want to, but then they're off doing their own thing. Yeah. So I do take for granted sometimes that it's a blessing to have the amount of time that we have now, because they're able to be independent and do their own thing. Yeah. So definitely it's helped having that. Wow. Yeah.
Now that you're working in a creative space, I know your partner and I know what he does for a living. Like, do you have I don't want to say do you have an appreciation for what he does, but do you understand that whole space a lot better now?
Yeah.
and also having kids in the mix of all of that. What does that? How do you feel about that perspective?
I feel like I understood before.
Yeah.
To a degree. Yeah. But now, and Marcus would agree, now it's like, I get it, bro. I get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's just everything. Even like now when I see him, because he's got his studio, but sometimes he'll work from home. So now when I see him trying to practice and the girls are around him, I'm so much more mindful of, give him some space to practice. Whereas before I'm like, yeah, but you've been at a gig. You should spend time with the girl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like my mindset towards it now is like, okay, he's gigging and he's in the studio, but actually he also needs some time to practice and things like that. Just like how when I'm creating or I'm doing content or whatever, he'll be the same. But I don't think I fully grasped that before, if I'm honest. Yeah. But now I'm like,
tag team create spaces, need to breathe. Literally. No, I get it. For sure. Okay, that's really cool. It's also really nice to sort of hear it, because I think being with my partner, who is also a creative, as we all know, I always thought that as a creative myself, it's actually really lovely being with, if ever I was with someone who wasn't a creative, it's nice having that difference in our worlds. They're in a corporate space, I'm more creative, and we can kind of have a balance. So I used to sort of have that as a notion, and that's something that I actually really like in a partner. But now that I'm with someone who is as creative as I am, or even more so sometimes, because Max, shout out to Max, to Marcus, hi guys. Max does all the things with all the instruments and has such a great knowledge and understanding of all things tech as well. It's like you're able to sort of really sort of, I was going to say keep each other in check, but that's not what it is. It's more just the support that you can offer each other.
The accountability.
Yeah, that too. And just also understanding when someone needs just 5-10 minutes or whatever it is, just to have a bit of a breath. Because sometimes, you know what, just stillness and doing nothing is just as useful and as productive as doing 150 things at the go. So it's great having that sort of, having the partner in the same space and industry who understands exactly what you're going through and not having to explain certain things. Because, like, you know what, if I just want to go for a walk and just stare at the sky, let me do that. And then he can, and I kind of do the same for him as well. So
100%.
It's nice to kind of hear, now that you're in it yourself as well, you kind of get to see the other side of it, which is awesome.
Which is good.
So obviously the affirmation cards are out now. Do you have plans for more? Are they likely to go into other stores? Like, what's the plan or vision for that?
That's the aim.
Okay,
for them to go into other stores.
Nice.
And I'm working on something right now for the teenagers. So the cards are more for younger children.
Okay, yeah. And what's the age bracket actually?
So from 2 to 11.
Okay.
Because I say a lot of time parents will ask me and they'll be like, oh, but my child doesn't read yet and stuff like that. But you can pour affirmations into them from early. It's just reminding them how great they are from early.
Yeah.
So yeah, I usually say from 2 to 11. But I'm working on something now that's more like a journal for the teenagers, which I'm hoping to have out early next year. But I think the main goal for me as well is, as well as the affirmations and the cards, it's imparting into parents. So I had my first speaking engagement a couple of weeks ago.
How was that?
It was amazing. Honestly, now that I've done it, I'm like,
you want more?
Talk. It was exciting and scary and all the things, but I think it showed me that is definitely a space that I want to get into, just being able to have conversations with parents and talk to them about like what's going right, what's going wrong, and just being able to sit down and just share knowledge and tools. That's what I want Trailblazer Kids to be ultimately, is a space that parents can talk and okay, this is what I tried, this is what worked for me. So it's an imparting of knowledge from parents who have adult children now. You've done it before, teach us.
That's true.
And then for ones that are younger parents, actually I've got things that I can show as well and teach. So
When you were just saying that, and you obviously touched on the different, I guess, I want to say different levels, because I keep referring to Xeno's now 1, so I'm like, I've completed level 1. So now to me, rather than age, everything's just levels. You've mentioned parents who have different like levels of kids at different stages of their children's growth and development.
Yeah.
When you initially started this, did you have the vision for wanting to reach that many people in those different age brackets? Or was it something that you started initially just for yourself and your girls and how you wanted to raise them?
Literally, it started for Trailblazer. It started actually as a book, which I haven't released yet.
Okay,
but
cool.
I've written the book, and that's literally how it started, just as something for the girls to remind them how wonderful they are. And then and it was during lockdown actually.
Okay, what was lockdown like for you guys actually?
It was a lot.
Yeah,
it was because I was obviously still in my 9 to 5, having to work every day, do the homeschooling every day. Mally wasn't in school yet, she was in nursery, but for Michaela, you have to do the homeschooling, and they literally ran it like a school day at a certain point.
Wow.
So you have to log in at this time, assemblies at this time, and I'm balancing that and my job, and it was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay, fair enough. Thankfully, it's behind us.
Yes.
And that's okay. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it started, because I think for us, we noticed a change in the girls in terms of them not really wanting to be around people when we were allowed back out, because they'd gotten used to being at home.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to help them?
Yeah.
And then the more I kept speaking to parents, the more I was like, this isn't just our house. This isn't just our kids that have been affected. And we have to remember, like, we went through it, but they went through it as well. Like, speaking to Nanny and Granddad on video calls and not being able to see their friends and not being able to play at the park, like, it impacted them. So this was literally birthed from, I need them to remember how amazing they are. I need them to remember how beautiful and wonderful and loved they are. And I was like, if they need it, there's probably other children as well that need that reminder. So that's literally what it was birthed from. I didn't see it as speaking to parents or anything like that, but I saw it as a start of just reminding these babies how wonderful they are.
What was their reaction when they kind of saw it all like done or finished?
They were so excited.
Yeah.
So excited. Like, I think the day we first saw it online on TK Maxx, they were screaming.
Really?
And I was like, that's Mummy's business. Like, I know. And I think it was just nice as well that they can see the fruit of Mummy's been working on this.
Yeah.
She's been coming away and doing her thing, and we can see physically, tangibly something in front of us that she's done. Which was nice. It was a proud moment, because I was like, they know I'm not just randomly doing nothing.
Which is so funny. No, that's such a good point. I'm trying to think, growing up, like, when I think of my mum, like, the older I got, I understood more of what she does. It's true, but I wonder if it was ever a thought for her, but how much of us watching her, I wonder how much of that sort of impacted her, in the sense of, I wonder if my kids know that I'm actually doing things rather than just mum who's making dinner or mum who's doing this and the other. So it's quite nice. I think it's quite nice in this day and age where I'm finding that mothers are trying their best to make sure that their kids know that women do a whole range of different things, and it all has its value, it all has its importance, and you can choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. But being a mum or a stay-at-home mum or a mum that works, whatever else, it all has its importance, it all has its value and stuff. So it's really nice hearing how much we're trying to instill that type of, I guess, perception or thinking into our kids and stuff. So that's really nice to hear. Like, and it's great for them to see, like, this is what you do. Daddy goes off and does this, and he travels or does whatever else. You travel, you do X, Y, and Z as well, which is really, really lovely. Nice. I'm gonna throw it back again to like the early days. I think you touched on a very common thread where everybody misses the sleep. I missed the sleep so much. I didn't think I was gonna miss that much, but no, I really do miss.
It's life changing.
Oh, man. Because I was in a space where I was like, you know what, having a kid, okay, great. I know the challenges and stuff will be there, and it's true. You don't really understand certain things until you're living in the reality of what's happening. But the sleep side, I thought I would have that handled, because I know the hours that I kept, or we keep, in the space that we're in. And work comes and goes as it does, and you have to sort of just be quite reactive at times, not always, but at times. So sleep-wise, I figured, I know what it's like to have late nights, whatever else, but to have late nights on the go and still be as aware and as conscious and as in a state of action, because you're a little one, and I'm obviously looking at, say, baby from like Zena being newborn up until now. But you're on alert so much. It gets to the point where your body just crashes. Yeah. And you try and grab the bits of sleep as you can, wherever you can, but it's never quite enough. So I miss feeling fully refreshed.
Yes.
Like, you sleep as and when, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss this sleep so much.
Literally.
I was going to ask you, what are there any sort of vivid memories that you have of maybe childbirth? I know it was an emergency C-section, so maybe your memories might be different or just have a different perspective. But what are your vivid memories of like the early days, the early stages for you? Taking it back.
That's good. I feel like my vivid memories would be their blankets. That's the first, like you said it, and the first thing that comes to my head is them just snugged in their little pink blankets.
Do you still have them?
Yes. Yeah, I still have all of their pink blankets. That's my vivid memories. Yeah. And then also just, do you know what? I loved that early newborn stage where it's just, so with Michaela, it was just the three of us. Yeah. And it's just like a piece that was in our house, because it's like we're just so focused on this little human that needs us to survive. Like we're so like, okay, we've got to get this right. But there wasn't the pressure of it. It was just, this is a nice moment to be in. I think that's my vivid memory. It's just when they were first born, and it's like the joy, the joy of this little person that we've literally seen grow in my stomach for the past 9 months is here. Like, did you miss having them inside you? Yes,
I miss that. And I wasn't anticipating that. I think even soon after Zena was born, and I remember they've done all the checks that they needed to do. I'd given her to Max, and I went to have a shower. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's weird. Obviously, you still have the bump. Yeah. So I was touching, and I was like, it just feels so strange, because it just felt like this, almost like just this jelly that was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but there's nothing in there. Forgetting, obviously, my organs and everything else is in my body still, obviously. But it was just like, oh my gosh, she's not there anymore. So that was quite I didn't expect to feel impacted by that, which is really odd. But yeah, I was just really surprised. And then I was like, I just missed having her like in there. I know you said the pregnancy journey was quite smooth, no major like stresses. Did you have any sort of like weird cravings or weird situations, anything like that? And what was like the strangest thing or the weirdest thing that you had pregnancy wise?
The two things that I had with Michaela was pickled onion crisps.
Okay.
Any pickled, like especially...
I thought Monster Munch immediately.
Monster Munch, or, you know, the cheap alien crisps.
Yes, yeah.
Those, I would want like... I would literally say Marcus to shop and be like, can you buy me like 4 bags?
Oh my gosh.
I loved pickled onion crisps. Yeah. He hated the fact that I loved pickled onion crisps.
It was what it was.
It was what it was. I'm carrying your child. This is the compromise. Pickled onion crisps and potato salad.
Okay.
But not just any, like it had to be my mum's potato salad.
Oh, cute.
Literally.
Okay.
And she would make up like a massive container and give it to me to put in the fridge, and I would just sit there just eating potato salad. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I thought I was going to have some, I'm a massive foodie and I'm here for trying all kinds of things as well. But so I thought my food things were going to be like, I don't know, like ketchup and ice cream or blah, blah. I was expecting all that stuff. I had nothing. I was so disappointed. There's a period where I disliked meat, didn't like the taste of it, smell of it, didn't want it. And I'm a massive carnivore, so that was hilarious. And then what else?
Have you gone back to liking it?
Yeah, that was fine. But there was just a huge part of the pregnancy where I just didn't want it. Yeah. So I would make myself eat it at times, just whatever I needed to get from it. I would try and make sure I'm getting everything from the proteins, from meat and veg and whatever. So I tried to be as well-rounded food-wise as I could be. Yeah. But I wasn't into meat at all. And then I had such a thirst and a love for all things citrus. But that was it. Aww. I really thought it was going to be some, like I said, ketchup and ice cream or just something bizarre. And it was like, no.
Not random at all.
Simple. And I was like, fine. That's not a problem. I just roll with that. It's boring.
You wanted the random craving.
I did. I was so excited. I was looking for that. And I really thought I'd be like, oh my God, babe.
No, but you
can't.
Go
and get me. And this didn't happen. It was really just like, Which again, I'm not mad. It's a blessing. It's cool. It's fine. But I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah, because at least it didn't go extreme. You hear of people like eating walls and doing things like that. So normal is
it's
good.
Fine. I mean, Okay, so that's that. If I was to have a disappointment, imagine that's not even a disappointment. But it's like, oh, I feel like I missed out in the little space over there. And then another thing I like to kind of ask, and I think maybe, I don't know if this ties into the affirmation cards that you've released, but I kind of find that with mums, or with new mums, should I say, there's always a new project that they start when they're pregnant or when they just come out of. Did you find that you had that?
Yes.
Or not? What was yours? Is it still going or is it not?
No. I think it maybe lasted a month, but I can't even believe I'm going to say it.
Go on.
With Michaela,
yeah.
I don't think I had one with Mally, but with Michaela, I was going to start a bow business.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm going to have a baby girl. I want to make bows.
Okay.
And they were actually really cute. Like, I've got a picture of her in one of them, but it was just so, the time it took to make each one, I was like, I'm not doing this.
Oh no.
But I was convinced this is gonna be it. This is gonna be my business. It's gonna be bows. And there's so many bow businesses out there. It's like, it's ridiculous. But at the time I was like, no, that's what it's gonna be. While I'm sitting here, because you want to be creative with that time. You know, especially when you're on maternity leave, you're like, oh, I've got all this time.
Let me do something.
Let me just do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it lasted maybe a month.
I love it. Honestly, everybody has. And I'm trying to think of what. Sorry, I know my one was I wanted to write a book. I'd never a children's book specifically, and there are other things that I'm working on, and that's fine, and that's for a more adult space. So I've always been in that lane. But we were playing, and I think I was on my phone replying to an email or something, and Zena like grabbed me and she basically pulled me to look at me. And in that moment, I realized, okay, she's understood that my attention is elsewhere. And that made me feel terrible. Yes. I was like, oh my God, she's had to literally physically grab me so that I'm aware that she's there. And I was like, oh my God, I can't ever have that happen again. So I ended up writing a book, and the book is called Mummy, Do You Love Me? And essentially, just no matter what I'm doing, whatever I'm doing, like, you are always at the forefront of my mind, even if I'm not physically looking at you. But that's where that kind of stemmed from. I didn't see that coming at all, but we just finished getting that illustrated. So I just need to okay all the things there, and then that's it done. But again, nothing. I wasn't what I was expecting to happen. Never in a million years did I think I would do that. And then that's what's come through. But it's always great asking that question, because people have had the most amazing and the most random business ideas, and it's always like, I don't know how I thought I was going to do that, but that was the mission. So it's so nice having that as little reminders to people, because I wouldn't be surprised if some people are like, you know what, hey, let me try that again and see if I can revisit it. So that's really, really nice.
I love that.
But who knows, the bows might resurface for you.
It's very true. In a year or two, I might be like, let's start this.
Let's do it again. Come on now, you've got 2 extra hands that can help you.
It's very true.
Why not? Get it done. With your journey on motherhood thus far, what is your biggest love, your biggest takeaway, or biggest struggle, if you have that at all?
My biggest love would definitely be just being a mum.
Okay.
I people say that you shouldn't make being a mum your personality.
No,
it is my personality. Like, I love this space. I love getting to parent them. I love seeing them grow, and nurturing them in the different things that they enjoy doing and their clubs and stuff like that. I genuinely love it. So that would be my love. What was the other one?
It was biggest love, takeaway or struggle.
Okay.
You've learned, and sorry, there may not even be a struggle either, but just like
I think the mum guilt was probably a big struggle. Still is. It still creeps in. I do my best to like remind myself, Tanya, as long as you're doing the best for them, you're good. But that mum guilt, like you said, there'll be moments where I'm maybe doing an email or doing something on my phone, and Mandy will come and be like, Mum, you spend too much time on your phone. She's literally said that. I'm like, okay, it's down now. It's gone. Or you'll forget to do something, and it's not even anything major. Like I forget a P day or something like that, and it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that great. It's not that massive. But in my mind, it's like the worst thing that could ever have happened. So just battling that mum guilt.
When did mum guilt start for you, like officially, if there's like a date? I've actually never asked anyone that. I was thinking to myself, when did that really kick in for me? It's an odd one. I don't know when it...
Early, actually, because I think even going back to work, when I had Michaela, I felt so guilty leaving her.
Yeah.
Because I
How
left
long was
her.
you on maternity leave?
I went back early when she was 7 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though I planned for it to be longer because a new role came up and I was like, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. But then I was debating like, oh, but I'm leaving my baby.
Yeah.
And obviously I was leaving her in safe hands. She's with her dad.
Yeah.
And she's with my mum. Like, so she was fine, but still feeling that guilt of I'm not there every moment.
Yeah.
They'll send me videos and stuff like that, but I'm missing out on so much. Yeah. So I think the mum guilt started from then.
Yeah, and it's mad because you go back, if you're in a space where you have to go back to work, you do what works for you and for your family. Yeah. But 7 months, I've heard that a fair bit from women when they've had to go back to work and just the adjusting that they have to do. One big thing for people I know was breastfeeding, having to make that change if they were breastfeeding and then stopping that or adjusting that because they're back in the office space. And one thing I hadn't thought about was what that would mean for you. Yeah. Because like there's one woman I'm thinking about in particular where she thought it was going to be difficult weaning her baby off and stopping that period, but it happened quite quickly over the space of a weekend, she said. And I was like, wow. Okay, cool. But she was like, yeah, now her little one doesn't even really... It's almost like it never happened. Her little one doesn't act like she misses them or tries to come on the breast again or anything like that. And what she didn't realize was how it was going to make her feel, how much she was going to miss that, or she's lost that time that they would have together. And so she's having to process that. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh yeah. Because of course the conversation typically is centered around when are you going to stop, or how long did it take you to stop, or like what your feeding styles and methods are and how quickly you should stop it, rather than how are you going to feel and what's that going to be like for you, and watching them be, I guess, more, again, gain a certain type of independence that maybe you didn't realize was going to happen so quickly. So that's always interesting to hear when people kind of say 7 months, because there's still quite a lot going on, but you have to adjust as best you can, right? And let it fit your life in the best way, I suppose. But okay, and your biggest, I guess, was that your biggest struggle, I guess, then? Yeah. With your birthing choices, although you knew you wanted to have a natural birth, it ended up being emergency C-section. Yeah. What was that whole experience like for you?
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think because with Michaela, it was suspected preeclampsia. Okay. But because I was full-time, they were like, it's not going to do her any harm. Okay. Let's just get her out. So they didn't know for sure that I had it.
What is, for those who don't know, what is preeclampsia?
Okay, so preeclampsia is it's a condition that you get usually towards the end of your pregnancy, where the baby isn't getting the nutrients that they need. Yeah. And it can be really dangerous for mum and baby. So there's you can have seizures as a mum.
Well, whilst you're
afterwards, yeah. So even afterwards, they have to put you on medication. I was on blood pressure tablets. I've never had high blood pressure in my life. I had to be on blood pressure tablets for probably about 3 months with Michaela, and I think longer with Mally. So it is dangerous.
So if you have it once, you're likely to have it again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, right. So they're pretty sure I did have it with Michaela now, but they didn't know at the time.
Okay.
Because there's no definitive test. It's like they test a few things like protein in your urine, your blood pressure, if it's been continuously rising and stuff like that. So they suspected it with Michaela. It wasn't even a thought in my head with Mally. It should have been. It was very silly of me. I remember Marcus was away. He was on tour and I was home with Michaela by myself. Yeah. And all night I had a really bad headache. Like I had to have the lights off, which is another sign of it. Okay. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was just thinking I was just a headache.
Yeah. Because I had migraines in mine.
Exactly.
And that I know is a thing that happens.
Exactly.
I even think there's like an old wives' tale where if you have migraines or you're going to have a girl. Yeah. Like you know how it can... People assign these things to mean boy or girl, whatever else. So again, why would you think
I didn't think anything of it. But then I started getting like twinges in my stomach, and that's what made me call them. And I was like, and they said, oh, just come in. It's probably nothing, but we'll get it checked. When I went in, my blood pressure was like 200 and something. Wow. It was so like the woman who was taking care of me was literally like, I'm surprised, because another thing is your eyes get blurry. But I wear glasses, so I'm like, my eyes are always blurry. My eyes are always blurry.
That's just normal for me. It's fine.
This is normal sight. So all of the things that would be considered symptoms, I wasn't even thinking of.
Okay.
So they were literally like, it was, I was very blessed that I came in when I did.
Yeah.
And honestly, within an hour, maybe an hour and a half of me getting to hospital, they were taking me down for a C-section.
Wow.
They were like, baby needs to come now. And she was 5 weeks early, man.
Okay, 5 weeks early. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a very rushed process. And I guess I felt cheated of the last like month of pregnancy as well.
Okay.
Because it was rushed. It was a lot of...
Yeah. Was it, it's not a space that I've been in or experienced, but I guess I wanted to say, what's it like though? And I guess it's trying to understand, I don't know if you even have a moment to think yourself that this is happening, or what you've got to do for yourself mentally to prep, or who do you have to call in that time? Like, what is that whole process like? And then before you know it, you're in the theatre, and like, what was that like? I don't know how else to sort of try and get the question out of me. Yeah.
I think my go-to people is always my mum and my husband, who were able to get there so fast.
Oh, awesome.
Thank God, because I would have been a mess if not. But I think just preparing myself, do you know what, I think because it was so rushed, the good thing was I didn't have enough time to overthink anything.
Got you.
Because it was like, okay, the doctor said this is dangerous, baby needs to come now. Okay, baby needs to come now. I didn't even have time to overthink it. And obviously having the C-section before as well, I was kind of like, okay, I've dealt with the after effects of it before, I can do it again. Yeah. Even though it was a bit scary, because now I'm dealing with it with a toddler at the same time.
Gosh, yeah.
Because you're not even, like, literally the heaviest thing you can carry after the C-section is your baby.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, but if Michaela wants a cuddle, or so it's all of that. But
did you feel anything? And obviously they numb you and they make sure you're okay and settled in that space, but could you feel what was happening, or how much were you allowed to see? So for instance, like I know now there's my hands are up and I'm about to say the word shield, but it's not a shield, but there's there's like a barrier, so you don't see what they're doing. You don't see it, but how much of it did you feel? What was that like?
So I didn't feel any pain at all. You can feel that they're doing something,
tugging and pulling or something.
Yeah, you can feel like a tugging sensation, but I wasn't in pain. I think the most painful part was what's the thing that they put in your back? Epidural, because they did that. That was the most painful part of it for me. But the C-section itself, it's the after effects.
Yes, of course, but you've really got to take care of yourself, right? Yeah. What was that like?
It was difficult. I think because at the time with Michaela, we were living with my mother-in-law. Okay. With Mally, we were in our own place. When we were in our own place, it was a lot easier because everything's on one ground in our flat, so there was no stairs or anything like that.
Yes, of course.
At my mother-in-law's, I'd literally have to make a decision every day. Am I staying upstairs or downstairs today? Because I was like, I can't do the stairs. Yeah. And baby. But I mean, the process, it went easy. It was smooth. There was painful moments.
Because how long? Like, I know you have your C-section. The heaviest thing you can carry is your baby. Yeah. But what was even like sleeping like? And like in terms of, I don't know if it's even better to. I don't know if it's easier for you to pull from the memories of the first experience or the second. But I can imagine just like practical everyday things. Like if you're in bed and you want to turn over. Yeah. Or like, oh my gosh, your knee's itchy. How'd you bend down to do that? Like just like the everyday little things. Like what was that like with having had major surgery essentially? Like how what was that like for you?
It's a lot of adjustment because even how you would naturally get out of bed, you have to completely change how I'd do that. I looked like a lunatic getting out of bed because you'd have to like roll. Just so that
Sorry, that was pregnancy vibes the whole time. It's almost like a beetle. You got to try and get on one side and then kind of like get up. So
roll myself.
That's still fun.
So I was used to it from being pregnant. But I think it was the everyday things, like being able to just I'm just gonna run upstairs to get this thing. Oh no, actually it's gonna take me 15 minutes to get up the stairs to do that thing. But I think it's one of those things. It's like I'm assuming with natural birth as well. As much as you've gone through the pain, it's like looking at your baby, you're like, it was worth it.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a similar sort of thing. It's like as much as I'm in pain, I'm looking at their faces. I'm like, you're here, you're healthy, you're well. it was worth it.
Yeah,
it was worth it.
It's almost bad because it was an emergency C-section. There's not much you can kind of. I was about to say, what is there any advice? Let me ask the question rather than not. Is there any advice or tips, tricks, hacks, or whatever that you would give to anyone who is in that situation of having an emergency C-section come up and like, okay, you've got to roll with this? And is there anything that you could say to kind of help them with that?
I would just say beforehand, even while you're pregnant, do research on all of it, the possibilities, the water birth, the this, the that, whatever it is that you're looking at. You have, because I think you can have your expectation of what it's going to be, but ultimately we don't know what's going to happen. So I think where I failed was I didn't do the research on all the different things that could happen, and different options.
So I was about to interrupt. I said I don't want it to be a thing of like, sorry, how am I telling you how to feel? Like, it's not that you failed, no. But you know what it is? As you said, you just didn't anticipate or expect certain things. So why would you look into that, you know?
Yeah.
So, I just didn't like the word failure. So I just had a visceral reaction. Like, no, it's not failure. No, don't use that word. That's where that's coming from. But it's like, I understand. Yeah, you can. There are things you can do to be.
I lacked knowledge in
I'll
all the
take that
different
one,
possibilities. I didn't fail. I lacked knowledge in it. So I definitely say research. And then if it does go down that route, just be kind to yourself. Don't feel like, as you said, don't feel like you failed because you haven't done it the way that you planned or the way you expected it to go. Because that we don't know how things are going to go, and ultimately the most important thing is that you go in and you leave well and with your baby. So however that happens, you've passed.
That is so true.
You know, you've done what needed to be done. So
very, very true. Because even when you were just saying you don't know how it's all going to go down is so true, and that just triggered my a memory of my experience where as much as I had also planned for a natural birth, I did have a natural birth, but I genuinely didn't know which way it was going to go. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes at week 37, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're at the end, what's going on? But like even then they just let you know that you could end up with a C-section, but you're not gonna know. So there's a period where I felt in limbo where I didn't quite know what was gonna happen. I know I wanted to have a water birth, but then because of the GD, and also I discovered that I had fibroids, which I didn't know I had. I had like two really tiny, and one that was growing because of me having a baby, and I guess the different sort of nutrients that would come into that space. It was also growing, so they were worried about how much I would potentially bleed, which meant that I couldn't do I had to be in the birthing suite. I'm trying to make sure I haven't got my words muddled up. And by being in the birthing suite, if anything happened, I could be taken to theatre because it was a lot closer. So it kind of took away the sort of super natural birth that I thought I would have. Very happy with the experience that I had and how that whole situation was managed. But there was definitely a period, it's true, up until she came, where I didn't know what was going to happen. And you can be as prepared as you can be, right? But until you're in the moment, again, like all things motherhood, until you're in the reality of the situation, who knows what's going to happen. So it's true, there is an element of the unknown, which is a strange place that you just have to get really comfortable with, right? Because
it's life now.
That's it. And you adapt as best as you can. That's it. But But dude, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciated you being here. But my goodness, where can people find you? Where can they buy these cards? Tell us. Go.
So they can find me on all socials. So the Instagram, the TikTok, YouTube, at raising_trailblazer kids. So it's raising_trailblazer kids. And in terms of the cards, we're on Etsy again as Raising Trailblazer Kids. That's where I am.
Perfection. All right, cool. Well, Tanya, I'm sure I'll have you on here at some point because we didn't even touch or talk about breastfeeding or this and that, and there's so many different levels to motherhood. It is wild. So
I'll be back anytime.
Perfection. I look forward to having you again for sure. But thank you, my lovely.
Thank you.
Hey loves, before we sign off, just a quick note to remind you that everything shared on this episode is based on personal research and personal experiences, lived experiences. I hope we were able to give you some food for thought, but please make sure you conduct your own research and speak to your healthcare professional if you have any questions or concerns. Okay, with love, catch you on the next one.